Do a quick roll call. Everybody's basically here except Michael. And Brent. Andy, yes, everyone's here. Is Courtney, is Katie still with us or not? Okay. All right, everyone's here but Michael. Check it out. All right. Public comment. Do we have any opening public comments? Oh, okay. Okay. Do we have anybody on public members?
Is there anyone online for public comment?
Okay, we'll move to our first action item, which is the approval of the December 23 meeting minutes.
Thought I called in at the beginning for about the first 20 minutes.
What's that? I can't hear
I
you.
said, I thought I had called in for about the first 15 minutes. It says I'm absent.
Were you on there?
Yeah, it has me down as absent, but it should be V for voice, like Abby, V for voice.
Oh, virtual.
Yeah. I was driving, but I remember.
But you got this, right? You were here.
Not
Yeah.
presently, but I can call in.
We'll make that correction. Does anyone have any other corrections or changes to the minutes? So I have to most can do 7 minutes.
I'll
Brent, okay. Brent, second. Thank you. All in favor?
I,
And it's approved. With the one correction. Okay, new business. We're going to do this. Regular business. We have a couple new members that they
We just wanted to introduce Julie. Julie is for the Tampa Downtown Partnership on staff. And we've seen Ed in the past, but officially the CRA approved their applications to be on the CAC as voting members. And that happened in January. So they're officially CAC voting, so welcome.
welcome guys. Thanks for that. All right. So the next item is the FY 22 12th Street Right Landscaping Grant Update and Request. So you will explain.
Oh, this is, there was a grant approved for up to $3,000 in fiscal year 22. So those who were here for the fiscal year 22 period. Louisa, a resident over around the 12th Street area, or has a business over on 12th Street. She applied for a grant. She only spent not the full $3,000. So she has submitted receipts that total $364.81. The only thing we had to hesitate since the receipts came in not too long ago was that the motion made originally was for fiscal year 22. The expenses were made in fiscal year 23. However, I think that there was some lack of communication from the city side and maybe a little bit of both ways. So we've approved, we've had our grant team run an audit on it and feel that it's fair to go ahead and reimburse Louisa for the $364.81. So if the group agrees, then we would be paying out of this current fiscal year as opposed to what the motion was for fiscal year 22.
A motion to approve. In a second, so. On favor? Aye. Thank you. All right, moving to reports. Andy, Laura Graham, you're up. Tell us what's going on, Brandon.
Oh, there's a lot going on, which is really good. It's always exciting to be at this table. It's February, so that means January is our quiet month. I wouldn't call it that. It's actually a historic attendance month for us. We continue this trend of strong attendance, which is great. We had some great activities. Hopefully everybody got their fill of Gasparilla. We have collected a few hundred pounds of beads as we do for our promotion. If you bring a 5-gallon bucket of beads, you get 50% off admission. So that's been going on, and we've collected a few hundred pounds so far. Some great kids who come in and purposely collect the beads to be able to come to the aquarium, which is exciting. And it's our work to keep them out of the bay. Our divers were in the bay after the festivities to get some of those beads out as well. But we focus on bead-free bay, so that's pretty good for us. We officially launched our other promotion for the adults in the crowd, which is great because everyone's here, but every other audience has to make sure I say that. If you want to take advantage with our partnership with JC Newman of getting yourself a CGAR, we have worked in partnership with them. Every admission ticket to the aquarium allows an adult to head over to JC Newman and get the opportunity to purchase one of these special CGARs that were created in partnership. It is, we use Gar the fish. It's on the label. It's really cool, but it's been a great, unique opportunity to partner with them. A portion of the proceeds from all those sales will come back to the aquarium. So you'll see us promoting that. And then probably the last big thing that rounds out, at least for me, January, beyond the fact that we are finalizing design and we complete design within the next 45 days on our total expansion project and move to construction documents at that point. I've also been in contact with a member of the Channel District community who is heavily focused on art, wanted to talk to us about an art experience. And so they installed a sculpture of a tarpon on their property, which we, the aquarium, will put a logo on, and they want to support us and draw attention. So it's triggered us to begin investigating here in the community the potential for an art partnership that we're working towards. So we're now in contact with the artist and talking about some really cool marine animal themed art that is exciting. So we'll see how we can continue to support the community and engage in Hillsborough County Community College is who we want to engage with and kind of potentially create an art partnership. So it's at the very genesis and beginning stage, but it was really cool that they came to us and they had an awesome little tarpon. I have the mini version, a prototype sitting on a table in my office. It's pretty cool. And it's all upcycle metal. So it's a cool process. So that's pretty much our community engagement. We have a million other things going on, but that's probably the high level we have going on to get to the rest.
Yes. I was going to say thank you to the aquarium for your partnership and your investment in the streetcar. So thank you for, do you want to share a little bit? I know this group is very supportive of the streetcar and the expansion.
Yeah, we are, we're holding off on that one because it didn't go on February 1st. We'll save that for March, but it's okay. It's okay. We got me. We're excited that, and we understand the power of the streetcar and what it provides for the community in particular. As I've talked for the last 9 months, volume is really high and parking is really low. So we've wanted to make sure that we support the streetcar. So yes, the streetcar stop that is currently called Cumberland will become the Florida Aquarium stop effectively. I hope it's March 1st. I just got to see creative on it. We weren't done the creative in time to make February 1st, which was when we were supposed to launch. But we're excited that it'll be finally the Florida Aquarium that we're going to take it over. We're going to own it. And we have a little in the parking lot. There's a little, what I love to call the grassy knoll right across from the stop. We're going to activate that a little bit too during the summer season, et cetera, and have some fun stuff that makes that connection bigger. And we continue to support it. So thank you for bringing it up. I was going to pocket that. But I'm ahead of it now, so it's exciting. So that is a really cool thing. It's been great. It's gonna be a great partnership.
As usual. Anybody have any questions for you?
You said parking was low.
Parking is tough. We sell out our parking lot almost every day. And parking it's always going to be a challenge in this area. We work heavily. We have 496 spaces available within that lot. And that lot also accommodates our staff. So on any given day, you assume that there's about 350 to 375 spaces available to the public. And now the lot is available to the public. There are some folks who are using it, and maybe going down a spark permit. So, and we're supportive of that. But it means that the parking garages take the overflow, and on a 2-cruise day, that's a challenge just logistically. So parking will always be, and access will be something that we focus on, and we understand that it's one of those areas we need to contribute to. So we look at the streetcar as an opportunity to start talking to guests. In particular, spring break is going to be here, and we heard from the airport this morning that they are currently projecting to have the record inbound attendance at the airport the week probably leading up to Easter, which is the outbound. Our community takes schools here in Hillsborough are off. It's always like the second or third week of March. That's one of our biggest weeks. But the week, every other state is pretty much off. the week either before or after Easter. So that last week, they're projecting, the airport chair was saying that they're projecting that to be the highest inbound that they have. Probably on record.
With 4 nights, she said, how many of your staff?
And somewhere between 100 and 125 each day, is gonna stay out and volunteers. We have a lot of, we work in partnership with the parking garage, just to give you a little bit of inside baseball. We work with the parking garage a lot because staff may choose to leave at lunch and go somewhere, and typically when they come back, there's not a space available in the parking lot. So they end up getting subsidized by the aquarium. We pay for the parking over at the parking garage when they come back, so that they have space to park. It's just the nature of the volume of the business. So we understand it offsets itself and all of that, but we've had a lot of great conversations with the city, and we continue to talk about, as forward planning happens, what is needed. Some of the help that's on the way, not soon, but on the way, is when Water Street moves into the next phase. They have a large parking garage that's going to work to serve that. But if you look at the parking garages that are already built, they're all sold out. You can't, they're sold out. That's the demand that we know exists. It's the nature of development, right? So we understand it. So the aquarium is always going to continue to talk about development that helps make sure that we maintain access and ability for our guests to park. And we try to be creative as we can, try to get as much carpooling. The streetcar is another perfect example of if we can work with other parts of the community and get guests to be able to start or end their trip, maybe an e-board, right, during the day, then park there and come to the Florida Aquarium stop. It's actually closer to the door than the parking.
It's a good problem.
It's a good problem to have. The volume is there. I'd hate to be talking the opposite,
Yeah.
right? At this moment, but it will always be something that we have to think about within the community. So it's an important thing. It feels like at times we have plenty of parking, but we have plenty of parking at night. Yeah. But it's that end of 3 that can be challenging. Any other questions for me? Always one of my favorite meetings of the month.
Thank you for being here.
I mean that very genuinely. Like, we get to talk about what's going on. Thank you.
Always nice to see you.
Thank
Good to see you.
We will move into the Weed County signage project design.
Yeah, so we'll have John.
Yes.
Hi,
Hello.
John.
Hi, John.
Hi.
I think everyone's only seeing me that's online. This is the camera. I don't know why it's only showing me. But there's other people in the room, John.
Okay. Are you gonna set this up?
Oh,
for-
sorry,
I
hold on,
have
John.
the-
We're having trouble with sound. Okay, go ahead, John. Let's see if we can hear you.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Awesome, thank you.
Are you gonna set this up, Courtney, or me?
Yeah, if you could share your screen, please.
Okay. My screen has gone blank now.
Yeah, he's trying to find the concepts that I would have emailed to all of you, which you have a copy printed here. He had a newer version though, because we were trying to keep all the colors the same, although we're not selecting colors. That's phase 2. So he had made all of the concepts blue and yellow versus the black one, number 2.
Not meaning that they're gonna be the same color for every area. But
Well, that would be a different, that would be step 2. We're only looking at the way that's phase. Yeah,
Fine.
yeah.
We're gonna notice it, just the fencing in West Tampa around the park. And it, with the new signage.
Oh,
right?
the CRA signage?
The CRA signage, and it really pops, and you know who to contact when there's a problem, like it was like, wow, oh, okay, that's perfect, we know what to do.
Yeah,
So,
V
that's
V
great.
is our communications coordinator. I think she was responsible for doing that, V Parks.
It was great,
He's on here right now.
I mean,
Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
So this was presented at the last CAC, the full presentation. And then we talked about the 3 different concepts, and the takeaway was that you all wanted to come back to us with comments. And Courtney did just mention that we made one change, which is on concept 2. We changed the coloration to be the same as the other concepts. So we'd like to open up for comments.
So I have one set of comments from Michael who isn't here tonight. So he asked questions about the color scheme, which I'm there yet. He referenced the design that's up there now, concept 3, and said for that one, his idea was he does not like how the word Tampa is presented with the letters partially cut off the ends. He can't see the full A and the full T. So that is feedback on that one. And concept number 2, he said that the word Tampa is not large enough, so it's not very legible. It's too hard to read. I think he means the letters in the yellow portion at the top are pretty small. He said he felt that it's the best color contrast was, I think, the black and yellow versus the blue and yellow. It showed up the best. And suggested to leave the words and the names and remove the other. That's not exactly what he means. I think that does he mean stars? Okay.
Yeah, that's all I can see from him.
Okay, I'm not sure exactly what he means by that, but as far as the comments, but those were his comments on the 3 designs. I have to agree on that version that you have up there on concept 2. I think that the lettering is small, particularly like the word Tampa, very top on yellow. Maybe the yellow portion that sticks out isn't quite large enough, and those letters are just too small. I think it needs to be a little bit bigger or wider as far as how much it sticks out, so the letters can be larger. It's a little hard to read. My comments on number 1, concept 1, personally, I think those are really dated. And really, I don't know, they're not exciting to me. I think they look a little bit.
Like the historic district.
Yeah, a little bit historic. It feels like a historic district to me, and so much of Tampa is not that. So personally, I don't feel like concept is a very good representation of more of a modern way that Tampa is going. Concept 3, I tend to agree with Michael. I think that having the letters in 2 sides, like cut off like that, I don't love that part of it either. Yeah. The A and the T kind of cut off, and maybe that's just the nature of the shape of the sign. For me personally, out of the 3, I like concept 2 the best. If the lettering is a little bit larger. And I feel those are the most modern feeling of the 3. So
I like 2 as well. I do find, I know we're not talking about color concepts, but I think black is the least inviting color that we could place on there. So in that instance, I like the blue, or something similar. But tend to agree that 3rd one with the Tampa, first off, it kind of just takes up too much real estate for its time. I know where it's like, yeah. But also the fact that like there's some kind of.
yeah, it's almost like if there was something like a little happy medium between the large Tampa on that one and the 2, and the really tiny one on concept 2. You could find something in between. But Abby, I agree with you.
On concept 3 are those PB1 signs that short? They're shorter than the ones, like if that's where it shows the guy touching it almost in the
Yeah,
center. Whereas the other concepts
a really
you can't even reach the signs, which I don't think you should be able to. People just be popping it all the time.
yeah, people would probably might invite more graffiti or, people stick gum or anything else on it. If it can be from the ground, yeah, I agree. I think if they're too low, it's inviting trouble, more maintenance.
Yeah, that should have been shown higher, so apologies for that. These are meant more for the bike trail type signs.
Gotcha. Was there any feedback from the other districts?
Courtney.
John, do you have it recorded for the other districts? I know some were linking specifically to one. There was one district that wanted a blending of two of the concepts.
Yeah, it's actually been all over the place. So we've gotten, each concept has been somebody's district's favorite. So it seems like concept 2 with some modifications is your favorite. And there was another district that I think found this one to be their favorite as well. But there's been, I think, at least one for concept 3 and 1 or 2 groups. I'll say groups because other people have weighed in beyond the CACs, have preferred option 1.
It'd be good for Hyde Park.
Breaker Street corridor.
So the goal is to have them all the same everywhere, no matter whether it's a older neighborhood, newer area, whether it's, I mean,
Yeah. John, can you clarify on, because it's the appearance of what's on the sign that would change via within the neighborhood.
the shapes would be the
But
same.
the actual shape that we're focusing on right now would stay consistent throughout.
Correct. The shapes would be consistent throughout each, and this dark blue color, if whatever color this ends up being, this would be consistent across all of the districts. And then what would change would be the portion that's shown in yellow. So it'd be, the intent with this concept is there is a color and a pattern or icon that's associated with each of the neighborhoods, more artistic approach. And so that would change per neighborhood. And we can certainly, the idea was to have kind of a variety within the concepts. And so we wanted some where Tampa was bold and some where Tampa was smaller. So, we fully anticipate that after getting all the feedback, that there will be a single design selected that probably incorporates ideas from maybe all 3. So certainly the name of the district can become more prominent in this concept.
How many different neighborhoods do we have these going into? So how many, like if there was a base color and then a secondary color and every area got its own secondary color, how many are we talking? 7. Okay. So I guess my only thought on that is if blue is the base color, there's 7 different colors that coordinate well with blue. Whereas if they are black as the base color, you can pick any color goes with black, any color goes with white, right? And gray. So if you pick like a more neutral base color, then every district has its own color. I think that it would be easier to match that than to try to put like pink with blue or green with blue. I don't know, start looking,
Just be like the city.
I don't,
Blue and yellow are usually the,
but if every neighborhood's
City
trying to have
color
their
or
own,
underneath is, colors.
if every neighborhood's trying to have the same color, then
Well,
the yellow idea kind of goes away, so it should be blue really. If it's like in downtown, maybe it's blue, but it's not black and blue because that's the downtown borders, the city's color. Then I don't know, but
So we did intentionally choose a dark blue because it's dark blue is more neutral than say brighter blue. We originally showed this concept as black, so we had some variety, but there was a little bit of pushback from some groups that they felt that they were seeing black and yellow, so they were seeing something else within that. So we decided to make them be all blue, a dark blue for consistency.
so are you gonna be able to find 7 other colors that correspond well with blue for 7 different neighborhoods?
So 7 different colors? Yes. There already is a conceptual palette.
Was there any thought of doing like a stainless steel color?
Yeah.
Stainless steel is an accent color.
It was the main color and then having like a black font or something
Yeah.
that popped out. It's.
Well, we have, so part of the regulations for vehicular signs, so these signs over here, we have to follow certain FDOT and national codes. And so there's a contrast ratio. So black on silver on gray is not going to have high enough contrast. There also, it needs to be reflective vinyl. So, there's certain, it does limit you with what you can do color wise with vehicular signs. The backside, you have more because that's not regulated. So you have a more, can be more creative on the backside, have more leniency. Same with pedestrian signs.
I guess with that, John, in code, I'm looking at like the second one that you're talking about, like the font just feels smaller. I imagine there should be like a minimum font size for driving vehicles and for signage too. Is it just the scale that's maybe throwing us off that seems small? 'Cause, I mean, the first one and the second one, there's definitely bigger font. Like Tampa's bigger, the district looks a lot bigger, it's very much, it feels easier to read. But I agree that the second one looks a lot sharper. But I love like the size of the fonts on the other.
So the destinations that you're seeing on here, that is the same size in all the concepts. And that is an FDOT regulation. So it needs to be a minimum of 4 inches for cap height. And you can have a maximum of 2 lines per destination. So we can get away with, say, a second line of like a garage or district being smaller. But the primary name needs to be 4 inches, a minimum of 4 inches tall. If you had higher speed limits, which thankfully we don't in downtown Tampa, then you have to go to 6 inches, depending on the speed limit. But the name of the district in this concept is shown smaller. And again, we wanted to have some variety because, and get some feedback on how prominent we want to call out the name of the district. And, that there was a comment about Tampa. So I kind of went through this last time, but this first sign that you see in the family is the district identity sign. So announcing that you have arrived in the district. So the district name is prominent in the blue portion. And then in the area that changes color, we have Tampa. Whereas the concept 3 was more about Tampa proud. So Tampa is prominent on all of the signs, but also tone on tone, and then incorporated the name of the district.
It does seem like the district name is the least interesting thing here, trying to get people to a direction. So it seems more like decorative and less relevant to our vehicle.
I guess for
Yeah.
now, I guess for the future, people may come here specifically looking for the River Arts District and, right, I guess like we're making signs for the future. So right now, people unless they're walking around asking for certain district. Future, when people come to our downtown, I think about what do you guys?
People today do look for districts. I don't think the sign is how they find it. I think they've already gotten here and now they're saying, where's the marking or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't disagree with you. I'm just saying, and the purpose of this sign is to tell somebody where they're going. Yeah, that's, I mean, I like those we had, I like the welcome signs, you've provided this.
They got
I think that's important.
So is the goal here to get us to vote on this tonight then?
I think to give John, give some essence of what it is this group feels that their
We just want
preference is.
feedback or do we want to vote? So.
Yeah, I mean, not all CACs have taken a motion, or provided a motion, but if John could get a good grasp, and I can too, that, what the sentiment of the group is.
We want to take a poll unfavorite set of shapes and see if we all like the same ones or if we like different ones or. Yeah.
The shape is the same per neighborhood. It would be the color that would change and the patterning. Yeah.
I'm talking about concept, because each concept is a different shape of family of signs is what I meant by that. So concept, so yeah.
A different, maybe I'm hearing you incorrectly. Are you saying each neighborhood has a different shape of family of signs?
No. Sorry, we're just gonna talk amongst ourselves about which concept we want to go with as a group. So I'm on 2. Two or 32.
I'll just take a look at note. Anyone with one, not just in one. Okay, any, so one, I have one,
I'm two.
I'm made for two.
Listening.
Two.
1, 2, 3.
And four. And one, and then we got two.
Yeah.
One more, two.
Yeah.
Angie, you have a preference?
I'm just not very good with stop. Stop my strength.
I do like to.
I do.
Okay, so the preference, John, of the group is majority to two.
That's our favorite as well. So thank you.
Okay,
Okay. Yep. That one was cool.
Not black.
yeah, without black.
Yes.
Our colors, they take go well with our blue.
And so John has made it to all of CACs at this point to present these concepts and has also spoken to some CRA board members prior to his presentation to the CRA board tomorrow morning. So he's number 3 on the agenda tomorrow morning at CRA board meeting. So we'll be presenting these and then we'll find out what the CRA board thinks.
Jesse?
Thanks, John.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice evening.
Thank you.
All right. Washington Street Park update. Hey there. Hi, how are you? Good, good. Are we ready for Washington Street?
Yes, so we're ready for Washington Street Park. So have I lost the screen? Hannah, are you, or not Hannah?
Go for it.
Okay.
Hey there, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hi, everyone, this is Jamie. I wish it were Hannah. I'm not nearly as interesting to look at, but Hannah, who you typically see, she had a conflict tonight. So you've got the full team here tonight. And thank you guys for having us again. Jamie Wright, principal in charge, also on the screen, someone you haven't seen before. Greg Bryla is our lead design on the project, as well as Kyle Agar and Kirsten Farmer, our magical team here representing. So we wanted to give you guys an update on where we are and kind of where we're going, next steps. I know we've presented to you guys a couple times before during our process. So we wanted to start with just a little quick recap of the schedule, kind of relative to kind of how we're tracking. So we initially came to you guys in the beginning during the phase 1, where we went through the discovery process, all the information gathering session, and which resulted in that fantastic first workshop 1 in the park. And then we presented to you guys that feedback from the community, which really helped set the framework and informed the phase 2 of the design, which is where we are now in concept design. And so we have concept design prepared. We want to walk through that. I know it's tough on this kind of a venue to really digest all this information. So we're going to try to walk through this with brevity, knowing that the information, I think Melissa will be able to provide that, or Courtney will be able to provide the full document. We are looking forward to the next workshop, which is actually going to be March 2nd. So we're going to have our second workshop where we're going to present and have feedback from the community based on the concepts that you're going to see today. And then subsequently after tonight, have time to review this in detail. We have presented and coordinated with Parks Department in the city, as well as the CRA. And so we wanted to have an opportunity to share this with you guys tonight. And so again, the community feedback really helped drive the concept design and our the direction that we took with the design, and what you'll see tonight, the design criteria, which resulted in 8 really key high level elements here in terms of the feedback relative to the green oasis, very, very important to the public, the livability and safety of the park and the new design and what that is going to emerge to be. The emerging neighborhood, channel side is changing, the community is changing, the demographic, and designing a park that meets the needs now and in the future is very critical. Organic forms, we heard a lot about the form generation for this park and what the community would like to see. And so that's been incorporated, which you'll see. We heard that this park is a community-based park and people-forward park. It was heard loud and clear from our team, as well as being multi-beneficial and flexible, not just 1 or 2 trick ponies, but having lots of opportunity for flexibility. Maintenance and management is very key for the community as well as the city and staff. And then connectivity to the community inwardly and outwardly is very key. So I'm going to pass it to our lead designer, Greg Brawley, who's going to walk through the concepts. And then we want to try to get through this so that we have plenty of time for some discussion. So take it away, Greg.
Good evening, everybody. Always got to remember to unmute. So good evening. So what you're going to see in this conceptual design is we came up with a design concept that applies to both concepts. The difference is really what happens in the programming of that. So the design concept for this is community shoals. And what we did is we went back to Channelside's original natural coastline, and it was replete, almost, it was quoted as inexhaustible with oyster shoals. And we use that as a design metaphor because of the organic forms and really the adaptability, the growth of a dynamic community. So you'll see that applied in both schemes. Also in both schemes, what you're going to see is very organic forms of architecture. What you'll see in the model is a placeholder, not the actual form yet. We want to give the architects time in the next session to be able to explore that a little bit more. But you can see from this, it's also a very flexible canopy. It's not a stage per se, or something that may not be completely weather protected, but something that's very organic and iconic, identifiable as part of the park. Seating was also a very requested design element in the feedback. And one of the ways that we're treating this is integrating this into the organic forms with natural and man-made materials. And the purpose for integrating them is, and using those materials, is they're very tactile, and for that biophilic need, that innate need to be immersed in nature and being able to touch natural materials are part of that. Lighting, obviously, we're going to use what light we can during the day, hence you see some of the dichroic glass. And then at night, so it becomes transformative, so the park actually becomes an attraction at night so that we get as much use out of the park as possible. And that may be projector lamps, catenary fixtures, etc. So when you see all the model shots in just a second, all these materials and project elements, keep those in the front of your mind, and you can mentally apply those to the surfaces and whatnot. And here you can see very natural, organic. Dichroic glass is probably the outlier there, but it provides a lot of different, very dynamic qualities in that transformation from night to day. And you can see they're also very coastal. A word about plant material. In the model shots, you'll see a bunch of green masses. Those are not meant to be clipped hedges or anything. It's just a placeholder for the pollinator-friendly, predominantly Florida native, but certainly Florida-friendly plant material. The one thing that we are designing for, but not necessarily designing, is program, and this will be community-led. And that, a lot of that came out of the workshop, as well as people wanting to hold events in the park, getting a permit from the city, vintage clothing, art festivals, yoga, etc. So we have to design spaces that are flexible to accommodate a number of different venues like that. So the first concept is based what we call the oyster. And this, we treat this in layers and appendages, and there's also a lot of porosity on the edges. The first part is what we always start with, is a functional diagram to make sure we get things in the right spot. Here you'll see that the overall approach to this one is to surround a flexible space, one with what we call relax and gather, a little more immersed and insulated, and then the casual seating out along 12th Street. The canopy in both schemes actually anchors the corner, which we felt was very important from an urban design standpoint. And then there you see the existing utilities, and Washington and 12th Street, both in both schemes, are also intended to be flex streets that can be closed down because of the circulation possibilities to be able to get into the parking structure and still have circulation through the district. So that applies actually to both concepts. So this is the plan for that. I'm gonna, well, you can see this and you'll have it in your packet later. It's probably as helpful to go to the aerial, which we will in a minute, but what we've been thinking through is what does this look like a day in the life? What is a normal weekday, a normal weekend? And this is something of a heat map of where people, opportunities for people to gather. And certainly, as William White said, people like to congregate on the edges. So the very large flex panel in the middle provides that wide aperture for demographics of families, and anybody that can actually use that lawn for flex games, et cetera. And then during a music festival, for example, the streets can be closed down, set up tents, food trucks in the on-street parking spaces and within the park. And then the canopy can be used in many different forms. And certainly then the lawn panel becomes part of that very high, valuable flex space. So three-dimensionally here, you can see all the green areas. This is all lovely native plants, not clipped hedges. The canopy is a placeholder, and then you can see spatially how the seating, the integrated seating really forms and reinforces the lawn panel. We did tilt up the back half of the lawn panel for a little bit of urban play without it being a play structure. The one difference between this one and the other one is we picked the entire plaza up about 12 inches. And you can see it's very permeable as you're walking along 12th Street. And the canopy as well, as you remember those pictures, being able to see through the park was very important from a safety and septhead standpoint of natural surveillance, as well as a very winsome invitation to be able to get into the park. So this is walking on 12th going south, and then on 12th going north. And then here you can really see where the canopy being transparent like that really keeps the park open and flexible. And as Jamie mentioned, really connected, blending those edges and being very inviting to people. This is the view towards the back. We did introduce a fountain for a little bit of white noise back this, and also a very low tactile quality. It is not an interactive fountain so that we don't have to have bathrooms and trigger that. There is a screen wall in both concepts, and here you can see that we've got the palm planting, and then the green masses will actually be quite taller, and that will all be, you may use the word jungle-licious with native plants back there to provide that insulating immersive experience. And then kind of the one of the very iconic shots from the canopy looking out towards the lawn. One of the things that we tried to do in both schemes is in the building that's at the back there is a restaurant along that north edge. So keeping views so that if they ever do choose to open those, that site up, that we can get a lot of adjacent retail activity to help activate the park. Concept B, very quickly switching to that, we call the perch, and this is really based on using the channel side as a form driver. So in this one, we have the dog park, the buffer. We actually use the planting buffer, pulled that farther east so that we can make better use of that for the space, because the dog park does take up amount of room, and then reduces that flex space, and then pushes kind of the urban seating to the edge. And we've dealt with that in a very transparent, flowing way to be able to get through the street edge, which you can see here at number 10 along the street edge. It's very easy to move in and out of the park while creating that seating edge to watch activities going on in the park. And you can see the dog park north. One of the requests was small dog, big dog park. So we put the big dog park in the upper left, small dog park in the upper right. And we believe it's okay to separate those entrances because you don't want them to mix really anyway, so that it helps facilitate that. And then you can see the planting buffer that separates the dog park from the rest of the plaza. The The one comment that Jamie mentioned that we heard a lot of in the workshop was people forward and how we dealt with that. And one of the specific comments or number of comments was if it's a dog park, the whole thing becomes a dog park because of some urban behavior. So we left this park, the plaza space, paved so that it really limits the amount of antisocial or anti-responsible behavior. Many of us have dogs, so we wrestled with this a lot. But you can see the daily heat map and then how during a market event that very similar, we're using the street in both schemes to expand the plaza onto 12th and Washington, and then how tents might be used in that scenario. So little axon showing the relationship. In both schemes, we felt that the corner is where people meet. So having built-in seating at the corner was very important, and we transitioned from a concrete seating into natural boulders. And then here on the 12th Street side, you can see the organic boulders. Here's a street level shot. And then here you can see the organic seating that you can flow through very easily, but it does provide that street edge interaction and flow. So if there are food trucks happening along 12th Street, you can still flow into the plaza very easily and a lot of built-in seating. So it's very convenient. Had fun with the dog park. One of the requests was more stuff to do in the dog park. So using the feature wall now by moving all that planting again over to the right, we can make that wall actually do a lot of work and become iconic as part of the image of the park. Here's the matching icon shot from underneath the canopy looking back across the plaza. So you can see visually, it's a little bit smaller, but we still feel activating those edges how we have with the steps and the seating does that. So that was a barnstormer of a presentation, but we appreciate the time that you had and turn back over to Jamie and see if we have any questions.
Yes, thank you, everyone. Again, knowing that was a very quick walkthrough, would love to garner any feedback now. I know that there may need to be some time to digest this. And again, we're very much looking forward to the next workshop where we're going to present this to the public and really work through these concepts and get the feedback from everyone, including all of you all on that Saturday. And just welcome some discussion. We have plenty of time on our end to walk through anything now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and just, I'm sorry, Tony, you're off to the side, but Tony Monk, who is working with us on this project, is here in the room as well, Melissa Martinez. So Tony's from our Parks and Rec department, and he works with us and is on our weekly calls with the team here, and Melissa Martinez as well, who's with the CRA staff.
And if y'all haven't already received this digitally, you will receive it digitally, and there's a bit of a window. Because like I said, they've got the workshop coming up, and then I know that the CRA board has asked for a presentation, which may be April.
Well,
April,
we're
May.
pushing for April, but it
But
may
maybe
be May.
So that gives you all some time. You don't have to have all your comments today, I don't think. You need time to digest it. If you want to make formal comments as a committee, you can certainly do that. If you want to come out on that Saturday and just fill up the suggestion box, you can do that also. So, but any initial feedback or thoughts that y'all have would be helpful to the team, I think.
I think my first thought is if you don't give them a dog park, they're gonna make whatever
So
grass you put in their dog park.
This is the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
Dog park or no dog park.
Yeah.
And we've had this conversation,
Yeah.
exactly that. If you don't have a utility, essentially, a facility
Yeah.
for dogs, then that space becomes for the dogs.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Can I add that even if you do have a facility with dogs, because I look out over Madison Street Park and it has, it's 50% dog park, two
Yeah.
very nice dog parks. And then in the grassy play area is, I
It's
watch
full
everyone
dogs.
every day.
Yeah.
They go out there. So
But the thing is, in concept B, they don't have the lawn in the middle. It becomes hardscape. So then I think you'll have less people
Oh, I
using
agree, I
that for
agree.
dogs. So if you just do pretty much the bulk of the grass goes to the dog areas and the rest of it becomes, more of a lived in space, not inviting to dogs, I think that's gonna control it better. But I think this concept A is beautiful, but I think that center lawn will look.
They speak to the porosity of the edge, which I think is important, because you do want people to flow in and
Yes.
activate that space.
Yes.
And so making the space move people forward and activating it will make it a little less dog friendly. Like you can go down to Okeechobee Park as an example. We just had the restoration, thankfully, after the big sewer project. So I can report that the lawns will be opening back up in Okeechobee in a few weeks. It's beautiful, brand new lawns. And they've taken over by the dog folks running their dogs.
Yeah.
And
I think you're right.
unless you're sitting on a blanket, you don't have any reason to be there.
Right.
And what I think they try to do in the other concept is create reasons for people to be interior to the space. And so they've taken the edges that would just be on 12th and Washington, 12th and Washington. Those would be your park edges where people want to be. And what they've done is they've created sort of edges inside of the park. They draw you in and get you sitting on those edges. There might be a little, feel less dog-like in this scenario.
I think the residents down in that area are so conditioned to that being their bathroom for their dogs. If you don't,
Well, if
A
it goes away,
designated
if
place.
it goes away,
then people are gonna be upset. Yeah. Because you've got a couple buildings there that have no type of dog park space at all.
and I don't want to leave the witness and make those types of decisions for y'all, but that's something we have talked about a lot. And it is a hard decision. We have to have some really good rationale to take away the dog park in this case.
That's.
No, I don't think we should. I will ask,
Particular park especially.
yeah, I agree. If in the designated dog park zones, is it gonna be, designed in a way where it's better, easier to be cleaned? Is it gonna have drains? Is it gonna have a way so it just doesn't always?
Yeah, it's gonna be, we're gonna use all of our latest knowledge on the irrigated.
Yeah.
Which helps us
Yep.
on.
Sure
We'll
does.
have this, we'll have the up-to-date, drainage system underneath it.
Yeah.
So, and actually we'll have a lot more flexibility because it is sort of elevated the way that they're doing it.
Yeah.
So we'll have even more flexibility on that drainage system through the work this occurs.
Is there a children's component to this?
But just hit all the good ones.
Like we talked about all this time, like a lot
Yeah.
of people are starting to have families and they feel the need to then leave the district.
That's right. So,
For that.
if-
And
if
there's
y'all-
natural ways to bring that
that
in.
we were looking at ways, we just talked about this on Tuesday, and I'm hoping that we get that same feedback which we received at the first workshop, we get that a few more times. And I think we've sort of challenged them as we move through the process, and they get to design criteria to incorporate some elements for children, not necessarily like a distinct playground,
Great.
but something that tucks into the design in a natural way. You're just there and your kids can play. And here's a thing.
Yeah, balance beams, maybe a swing, like an adult size swing that kids can sit on, rock wall that looks like
Yeah.
oyster shells,
Some type
something
of
that.
climbing thing.
Natural.
Yeah, that's great feedback. Exactly right. We don't necessarily want the old post-in platform.
Right.
We want something that the kids can explore and play, and stay
Yes.
interesting, and it integrates in with the overall design. We got that feedback now here. We got it at workshop 1, and we did it at workshop 2. That's definitely going to drive the decision that way. And the other thing that's important about this is dogs and kids activate parks.
Yeah.
And what we challenge the team with is whichever scenario we go with, it has to be activated. We can't make all these improvements and have a dead park. It has to be vital and active to keep the right type of use in the park and everything. Not a bunch of people washing their socks, So play elements certainly help activate the park.
Yeah, that reminds me of, sorry.
I was doing a second to the kid activity with dog activity.
Yeah.
People joke around, oh, a lot of dog parks, no kid parks. But yeah, I think, you see that in different parks, like in New York, different things, even if it's music or sound or
Yeah.
twisties, or if it look like art, but it moves, it's touch and look at. Yeah.
I think there's a lot of ways to integrate interactive spaces here that'll appeal to kids without it being.
I'm stealing the consultant's thunder, I know they're busy taking notes.
And then is there any kind of I don't know, waiver or something that can automatically program for those type of festivals? So, because it is such a small park, it's gonna be hard to create a lot of revenue for a small business like a food truck or something like that. I know sometimes in the big parks, the fees associated with having an event outpace what you can make at the event. So is there some kind of a zoning or something that you could put in place that would help limit some of those fees so that you can have the small parties in the parks?
I think that's a time that needs to continue between the CRA and parks.
Okay,
Because I know that we allow people to do get-togethers in our parks, our shelters, and we have parks that aren't technically special events, and we
Yeah.
permit people to do things in them. Especially if they're not money-making events.
great.
Once it becomes a profit generating, I think it changes the conversation. It's more.
Like street
They
closures and stuff like that. I love the idea of being able to close those streets, but it can get really costly.
didn't touch on this, but they are carrying a cost in the estimate and the concept to elevate streets. And whether that's 12 in Washington and the alley to the south, or is it just 12 in the alley, which I think make the most sense because they have the retail storefront interfaces.
Yeah.
But once you raise those streets, then you extend the plaza and you have more options. And then now you're dealing with mobility and parks. If you have this space set up, maybe there needs to be a way that you only have to go through one
Yeah.
group. Yeah, I don't know that answer, but let's keep the conversation going.
So my question is, if you elevate it and you have less of a curb there, I mean, I guess what safety measures would you then put in place to keep cars from driving through the plaza itself?
Maybe.
Yeah, are you
Yeah.
looking at bollards
Yeah,
or
you get
anything?
all the tools in the toolkit.
Okay, all right, good, okay.
I love the focus on oysters. It's a really great investment to our community.
I'm partial to B just because of the controlled dog space. But yeah, I don't know, they're both really good.
Yes, like I said, I'm about all your thoughts blind. It's the first time you really saw it and thought about it. Come out to the workshop or email Courtney individually if you want to share comments that way, and she'll get it back to the design team. And all of that adds to the totality of their work. I'll say Parks and Rec is pretty pleased with the process. They're really generating some thought-provoking things. It's pushing us. I think it's going to end up being a nice result, whatever decision they're making.
I mean, we like to push the envelope anyway, so somebody else is doing it.
And just from a program standpoint, while we have everybody here, I want to make sure that y'all are sort of comfortable. And I think this one shows it the best. It has that sort of, I call it fan shell, but it's sort of an iconic pavilion situation. And then it has the flex space in the middle, it's interface with the streets. It allows flexibility in programming, and you can see how they showed you the heat map thing where you can have some festivals and events. You have dog parks, you have some hangout spaces. And if we incorporate some play elements, is everybody sort of comfortable with that sort of mix of programming? Is there anything you missed? Is there any program element? One of the things that came out of all the community listening is it's very much a neighborhood for the community. And so Parks and Rec it was important to us to keep those neighborhood aspects for the folks who live in the neighborhood. So I just want to make sure that the program that these support, that this group is comfortable with. We didn't miss anything.
I think the one thing that is missing now, not the design, but it's missing now is in the district, we only have Madison Street Park where you can even program any type of event, right? So I know you're kind of leaving a center space there. So have you thought being able to use this for some type of community event or, anything, a market or whatever? Have you considered like working in, like pre-wired speakers and things like that on posts and plugs and stuff made in the posts that vendors can access? They're locked out most of the time, but already have those things in place to make it more accommodating for special events.
We've had this request usually run into is compatibility and longevity. Like, oh, well, this person's thing is compatible with that thing. What's it gonna be like in 5 years? And so it's always sort of turned Parks and Rec away from it. Then letting people, and a lot of folks really want to set up their own stuff anyway, because they're already set up for it. So,
A lot of them.
But what about-
Electricity, don't need 110.
Power,
yeah,
right.
now that's something.
That's what I'm saying, power,
We can get
posts
that.
and things like that.
The
Yeah.
design team will take that note because we need to
Okay.
think about
I think power, yeah,
where we put lockable receptacles.
yes, at least that, and having some of those on some poles that double as light poles and things like that,
Absolutely.
and already just putting them on and planning for that, I think it'd make it more convenient, be a better draw, if like it makes it easier for a vendor to come plug in their whatever they're gonna plug in. But just, yeah, just one 10 hours.
And so y'all are gonna get another bite at the apple whenever we get to the design criteria package, which is gonna be much more detailed. And then we'll get this incorporated in that. You'll already see it in the criteria package. But as you start thinking about detailed things like that, that will make it more functional, we can keep adding that to the criteria package. Because it just a sentence, right? Include this.
Right.
And then the design build team that takes this over the finish line will have to include those things.
So I definitely think too, then in the oyster where you have like the crushed oyster shell areas, you have that loose type of aggregate stuff. I mean, I've noticed that I even mentioned to Courtney, like, can we stop doing wood mulch in our planting beds around here? Because every time it rains and we have a high wind day, it blows every rain. That's just a mess for weeks. And can we use something more dense, heavy, that's not gonna get blown and strewn away, strewn all over the place? I think like a crushed oyster shell path is gonna turn into being really messy. So I think like low maintenance type bases are probably better in this type of environment, especially when you do have kids that will be playing or dogs and everything else walking on that too. Might be a little tough on little tiny tender feet, but, yeah, so I just picked up on that too. Security cameras too. So we've got a security camera, contract we're working through now. So I'm assuming that would be planned into the design of this park.
It would either be part of the criteria, or it would be a separate effort that goes through T&I. So either way,
Okay.
and that's that would be, we would sort of defer to the community on that if Parks and Rec didn't feel strongly about it. Certainly that could go either way.
We're putting it in throughout the district on our own just because the community did feel strongly about it. And a lot of our previous workshops on improve, just general improvements in the district. So I think if we plan it in and make it very intentional where we put them and plan them ahead of time, so then we're not going back to retrofit and pay to do
That's
that later.
another one sentence, one paragraph, maybe a page in the criteria package. Thou shalt provide this. So
Yeah.
make sure that gets in there.
Okay.
Hey, one word, if I may, that, because we knew the dog park was going to be a big item, and we had a lot of discussion because we have dogs in the office. The needs assessment, if you look back in your earlier packet of the needs assessment of the district, every of the 3 parks that are in the district right now, every one of them has a dog park, one of them being specifically a dog park. So that's why we look very hard at the one. If we took it out, there's enough, we felt there was distribution to be able to do that.
That
So
one is really busy.
Yeah, it's really, it's busy, and I think the thing that we need to keep in mind is a lot of those buildings right around this don't have anywhere else for people to take their dogs to use the bathroom. They literally rely on that dog park, not just for recreation for their pets, but as a bathroom on a daily basis.
That's not the
So
way it should be, but the way it is.
I know it is, it's just true. And if they don't, and if we don't give them a place, they're gonna go in the landscape beds between the, road and the buildings and next to the sidewalks, and that's gonna become a lot worse. So I think it's not so much the recreation of the dogs, it's giving them a place to go. Yeah, literally.
Yep.
Yeah. Your more modern multifamily buildings down here are putting the dog parks in, and I think people that live at those are less likely bringing their dogs out on the street, except for maybe like a walk at night or whatever. But I know Sky House doesn't have a dog park, the Place doesn't have a dog park, and I think that's why those residents are down there all the time. I mean,
Yeah.
2 or 3 times a day, some of them. Literally their bathroom.
yeah, and that's the tough part because it's driving away certain people who would normally want to use a park because of that function and sensory aspect of it. So
It'll
we
be-
have 2 options.
It'll be interesting to pay attention when this is under construction. They don't have that bathroom. Where are those dogs gonna go?
Great point.
The heat map that y'all prepared did help. We'd asked them to do that because we were concerned about
Yeah.
the space available in both scenarios. And when they did that, it does look like the space can support both uses, especially for bigger events, if the streets become part of the plaza level. It
Yeah.
looks like it can work and not really disturb. And one of the concerns, the one option is that the space is really big when it's not heavily used. And then does it look empty and underused? So getting the space right to the density of use is important also. I think they've done a nice job of incorporating the dog park and having plenty of space for the rest of the park. Right now, the configuration of the park doesn't make the best use of the rest of the space.
That's a great point. I mean, overlooking Madison Street Park, I see that in the morning and at 5 PM, the park is packed and it's great. And then a lot of times during the day, there's one or two dogs there, or it's empty. Yeah. So that's it. I mean, I guess it's just the reality as you know, if there's grass and space, people will use that unfortunately. And all the signs that don't unfortunately deter everybody. So I mean, as much as I like grass and space, I think the hardscapes maybe is that kind of the answer to that.
Kids around the world kick a soccer ball in the paved plaza.
Yeah.
So we have to adapt our kids for urban.
Yeah,
Right.
agreed.
They're both great concepts.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Thank you, everyone, for this dialogue. Sorry that we weren't able to be there in person, but this is fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
So again, March 2nd in Washington Street Park from 10 AM to 1 PM would be the second community outreach. And then we're going to, as Tony said, we're going to have them present the concept they arrive at after the community outreach workshop session 2, either April or May, CRA board.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tony.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a good night, y'all.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Bye-bye.
All right, we will try to move through our unfinished business quickly, so we don't keep everybody here too late. So we will start with a quick update on the real estate inquiry on Fleet Street.
Okay, so this was a request that came out of the meeting to inquire about acquisition of 1125. And so I did talk to the real estate department, and that broker is listing that property at around $500 a square foot. And what the city has paid for within the Channel District and the downtown area has been approximately $150 to $200 a square foot. So really it is outside of the realm of what the city has acquired land per square footage price wise. So I just wanted to provide that information that is beyond what we typically would pay for property. So I'm delivering that back to you from the real estate department. So at this point, we cannot move forward with anything because of the elevated cost. It is up to the discretion of the CAC if you feel that's a priority of this Channel District budget to look at acquiring that land, that you can request an official appraisal from the real estate department or the real estate department to pay for an actual appraisal to get definitive what it is worth. We can do that, but I would also need to know what is the purpose of the acquisition. Does it fall within the CRA objectives like affordable housing? You know, would it fall within our community redevelopment plan objectives, the CRA objectives, and do we have the money to acquire that land? So the things to think about.
Good.
Yes, you can't buy nothing for 150. So whoever's telling you that real estate is uninformed. Okay. 150 went through the roof. I mean, that sales right now are 300 and above. Okay. So the 500 is an asking. That doesn't mean, and this is an eyesore property. Granted, I'm all about private property rights. They have the right to be there. They were there before everything developed around them. But we had instructed back 4 months ago, and we're still haven't done one thing, which is typical of this channel side CR. That's the reason why we have 2% parks where we should actually have 11 to 12% by guidelines. It's because we're so slow to act, and we don't act. I mean, by then somebody else is going to buy it. And so let's get an appraisal. Let's get it to first base. You just don't say, well, it's too much. If I did that, I would never buy a piece of property in 38 years. You know, let's get an appraisal, put it in front of them and get the ball rolling, because if not, we're just That's the reason we own 2% in channel side. There's a reason, because of this mentality that we have and in action. We've totally failed. The 40 years I've been involved in channel side, that's one thing that we have failed at. Look, we're fighting here for park space between dog and kids, because you know why? We have no space. And we have, and you talk about money, we have so much, we have money. We're being threatened that they're gonna take away our CRA or shorten it because we're not spending the money. So let's get on the ball here. This is unacceptable. 4 months ago, we should have already had an appraisal in base right now. If you want me to, I'll talk to real estate, Michelle. This is very unacceptable. And to come back saying 150 is market, they don't know what they're talking about. Okay?
That might be what they paid years ago, but that's not market. What would we make per square foot for the RV lot? I can't remember.
In the twos, but we bought it with the caveat that we could develop it, you know, that there was no project, no price. I mean,
Park only.
property right now is in channel setting one from three, some threes. So I move that we get an appraisal on this property ASAP. It has a no further action, so the environmental red herring they're throwing at you has no bearing. When you have a no further action, you don't have to worry about environmental. I mean, actually, no, the no further action came from remediation. Okay, so you still want to do a phase, you know, you still want to do it to update, have it updated, but a no further action is a very powerful thing to have. So I move that we get an appraisal done immediately on this piece, and let's get this thing to first base. And the reform must.
What is the use of the property? What would be?
The use of the property is for expanded parks, not affordable housing, for expansion of parks. That's what we have a problem with.
I think we shouldn't box ourselves into that for that property though, because that might not be what they want to hear to use it.
I know, but you know what? I mean, it's for us to give a recommendation. I'm not saying-
The argument has been all along, Madison Street Park is already there. We're going to spend all this money per square foot to just have more of what's already there, when what's there isn't used all the time and to its fullest capacity as it is. So it's, I think what they're wanting us to do is leave it more open on what we want to do with it.
I think
Yeah,
what.
if we let the city own it and want them to build affordable housing, it will sit there vacant for another 5 to 10 years until they get around to that site. They have too many other sites that they want to program that need our.
Or we could
and
build
everything else.
I mean, CR, we can build.
Yeah, but it makes no sense to be doing affordable housing per unit. And when you pay $330 for land, let's.
Yeah, that's why it's not.
That's why you can see it. So let's go ahead and where we're lacking is is park space. So my motion would be that we move with an appraisal based on the usage of expansion of park space. We have totally failed here at 2% all these years. And that's why we're fighting over space.
We built the RV lot.
We have money.
We built the RV lot for 6 or 8 months and we don't have an RFP yet for design services for schematic designs.
Well, I think that's on the agenda. And believe me, when I asked about that,
I know, but I'm just saying, like, we can't even get design. Look how long it's taken us to get design going for Washington Street Park. That's the problem. It's just everything takes so long.
Is it even on the, is my even on the market now? I saw that AL Commercial has it for lease. Yeah, so, and I know that a couple of developers that were looking at it
No.
decided to pass it or couldn't make the numbers hit their base because of the 20% request.
I think it's the brick building that's for lease, but the auto property is still.
yeah, this is just the auto.
It's just the
That's what I'm
auto.
talking about.
Oh, so it's not.
That's
right
all,
on the-
that's an eyesore.
Yeah, it's the auto.
And
I agree.
so
I don't disagree with that at
let's,
all.
I move. I just,
How big is this parcel?
Last meeting, I can't remember.
I'm estimating 15 to 20,000 square feet of dirt. Or a third. Okay, I made the motion.
Okay, a second. Yeah, second. Okay. All in favor?
Motion
Carries. so we have the no
Can
U-turn.
you just think of an offer at 300 and see in an LOI format and
They
see
have
if
to get
they stick?
appraisal
But then we get the appraisal, right?
they have to do, they have to get the, by city,
See if you.
they have to get the appraisal first.
I just don't know. Look at it.
That's, yeah,
They're spending money to.
they have to buy gallons of that.
You're saying.
All right, so the next item is the no U-turn request on the video. And you saw my email back to you about that, right? Where you asked which intersection it was. It's literally all of them, people are whipping around.
Yeah.
All directions on all,
Especially
everything.
come
It's tearing up.
Cumberland.
Well,
Everything that I provided from the meeting, from your email, from Mark, the community members' email, I provided it all to Thea, specifically the Director of Operations and Engineering. And so they're looking at it. They didn't have direction to give to me to provide today, but they said that they're specifically, their wording was researching the options. And they said, so I said, well, I have another meeting March the 6th, so if there are any updates, if you could please provide to me prior to March 6th, I'd like to be able to provide them to CAC. So all the information has been shared with them. He then included 4 or 5 other people on the email that would be relevant to his operations that I guess needed to. I would have to look at the email. I didn't recognize the names. I don't even know Brian. He's just, helping us out by looking at our requests. So, yeah, so they're looking at it, and in regard to the mileage per hour, the 25 down to 25 from the 35, that is a city maintained road. So I just triaged it to an individual in the city to let her know that has been an expressed interest to lower the speed limit along Campsite Drive. So I'm just waiting on a response. I just reached out to her probably a few days ago, just 3 or 4 days ago. So that really lies in the city's hands, not a CRA objective or CRA issue, but I've tried to triage it to the appropriate person so that they're made aware of what your concerns are.
So long channels. Pretty.
lowering the speed on channels, with no U-turns on.
Yeah.
What she said, or like certain intersections.
All of them, hopefully.
All of them.
Just being,
The one we were raising.
well, there was a horrendous accident at Cumberland, and then about a month before that, there was a horrendous accident at Kennedy, doing a U-turn at Kennedy.
That back to the new apartment complex is gonna be next to your house, since I think the entrance is gonna be on the right end, where to like enter that parking.
Yeah, you'll see even more, people doing a U-turn right there at Whitey's, yeah. Yeah.
Really, really
It's
bad.
gonna get worse. Yeah.
Coming from Davis Island, I don't know why they make some big turn there, but it's almost every third car.
I don't know how they got away with doing the entrance to that parking garage.
And none of them know how to turn.
Yeah, that's back for naming that
I know,
entrance.
that's just awful.
Yeah,
I think
true.
people
We
maybe-
were against it, but we got overridden.
Yeah. Remember when I didn't do it?
We got overridden on that and self-storage. Even though our code says. Let's go get it though.
So those items were moved also, so waiting on
Thank you.
responses.
Thank you. All right, landscaping.
And enhanced landscaping, so yes, the bid is out there, it is out there. I promise, and so within about a week or two, those responses are due. So I wanted to get a little bit better understanding, so once those responses do come in, they will issue, Parks and Rec will issue an intent to award letter for whoever is selected from the people who have the companies that respond. And then there's a 5 working day for any petition. So any company that feels like they weren't rightly considered can petition up to 5 days. So there's that small waiting period, and then it has to go to city council if it's over 100,000. So one of the responses, the person or the company selected is over $100,000 for that contract, it goes to city council for approval.
What did we approve?
And I was
We approved that. I think we approved it more than that.
That's what
I
I
think it was
thought.
like, I think it was like 200 or 250 or something. 30, I don't remember, some pretty significant.
Yeah,
Consider how much.
It's just whatever that threshold is, if it has to go to city council, if it doesn't, if it comes under 100, it doesn't have to go to
If it's done
council.
right, it'll be more than that.
And it'll be a fast process, but if it goes to city council, there's just a waiting period to get on to the next council or whichever appropriate council agenda it can get onto. So there's just a little bit of a delay. because of having to get on a council agenda and meeting to get approval by city council. So that'll start going forward as soon as we get responses back in about the next couple of weeks. Then.
I asked her earlier, changes on drive maintenance, landscape maintenance would be included in the private contract because it's not being maintained. There's dead plants and weeds everywhere. It looks like hell. So I asked her if we could move that into our private scope as well, so everybody's aware. Looks bad. It just comes back to the parking person issue. They don't have enough staff to keep up with everything in the city that needs to be maintained. So
Looks like channel side drive.
yes, everything we just made the plan. And I don't know if you guys know, but we were nominated for, Channel South Drive on our behalf to get the, Urban Excellence Awards above the project this year.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Giving answer to your question on, August 10, 2023, Port Tampa sold RV lot 810 channel side, 0.45 acres to the city CRA for 3.8 million. Came out to 193.86. Plus, we contributed 1.6 million, as you recall, for the road alignment stormwater contribution,
So,
which brings up the sale adjusted price of 300. And we had no development rights that we obtained.
yeah, so that was already great. That means that should be close to.
The piece just over.
What,
Yeah, just the most recent sale was the channel side, was what they call the, that was here, it was 333.72 cents a share. And that had to do with phase 2 of, the place.
Oh, right.
Okay, and that just sold
Yes.
for 333.72 per square foot.
Good price.
So
70 years.
whoever said $150 doesn't know what they're talking about.
I'm not gonna tell that person.
No, please do. And come this day.
Yeah, Eric can follow.
Yeah.
I don't care. Right, I mean, and it's really easy to verify, because I'm just like looking at,
Okay, I'm assuming you looked at past records of channel district and downtown of what the city acquired, and they had paid anywhere from 150 to 200, is what I was, based on,
well,
what their records
our
were.
purchase of.
That's not market.
plus that.
Just sharing. But I won't share back what you said. So landscape is, okay, so the security cameras, Detective McGinnis, specifically said, for the record, I am ready to move forward with this project. But again, it's in contract, it's in purchasing, like we had with the landscaping bid, this is in purchasing, and they're trying to get the contract approved through city council. So once the same information basically provided, he's sitting on ready, and so is the camera rapid system, who would be the provider of the cameras. So we're waiting for it to be on the city council agenda, the contract with rapid systems to be approved, and then once it's approved by city council, everybody's ready to go to do a reassessment. Maybe that's when we engage about the Washington Street Park cameras, and making sure that TPD is aware of.
They're
new
ready to go
relevant-
as far as ordering these and starting to install them.
Well, and to make sure that everybody is still on the same page.
And if we need to add those later, that's fine, but I don't think we don't stop the process, we install what the rest of them we've already approved.
Yeah, well, and I think
Based on
McGinnis are gonna wanna just double check that everybody's still, we're all agreeable on the locations, correct? So
Somebody's asking for some change, I think we don't go through that process again, we've already kind of been there and that, so.
yeah, but I think and there's gonna be a cost analysis again, because based on what it was.
So I'm not like 3 or 4 or 5 months ago, whatever it was, we were.
We approved to increase it.
We already approved to increase it, and we said whatever.
No, I know,
cost
the
is to
motion.
do what we already asked to do, just to do it, like, so I don't think that they need to go through this whole process.
But they still got to, no, they do have to cost it, because the cost will have changed, but your motion, the group's motion was.
Because they don't have to come back to us to ask.
Right, that if it's within the realm of, or in the ballpark of what you guys approved already, that you do not need to know about the cost increase necessarily, but if it's a major cost increase, we wouldn't need to do this. So he just wants to make an accurate estimate, because it would have probably gone up since when it was done. So he will give us a new estimate, and we'll see if it's in the same ballpark of what was approved originally. Get plenty of money for that. So that's moving forward. Beneficial bridge, we're looking at mobility, so We have someone in mobility that we've set up biweekly meetings with to get that study going. 810 Channelside Drive, Tony would be working on us with that urban park. The gentleman you just met, he would be working with us as well on that part. And we need to meet with Brad and Tony on site at the park to start to develop the scope and the design.
We wanted to hire a third party like we did for Washington Street Park.
Yeah, that's what we're gonna do, but the Parks
Yeah.
Department needs to walk
Yeah.
the site to be able to determine like what the best use, so because they're the ones that are gonna be in on the project.
We put out
Well, so contract, is this on contract admin's radar yet, or we have to get with Brad and Tony?
Well, I was ready to do the walkthrough with them, first of all,
Yeah,
because there's an issue of having those two residents that have 0 lot lines to be able to, they wanted to see that, to determine what would be the best use for it, but yeah, it's gonna be bid out to a company, to go to a design firm like we have.
yeah, it's not internal.
Yeah.
Didn't mean to say that. It would be like a dig site company that would,
Yeah.
a contractor that would do.
Amanda Parks and Public Works, I just want to make sure.
Yes, a contract admin on
Yeah,
funding.
I mean, the ownership of that would be transferred to the Parks Department, so Derek has to be involved.
Yeah, we're an internal team working with an external consultant.
Gotcha.
But an RFQ with that would go out soon to. But
Yeah.
Somebody like Dick's Site who's already approved and already working on another one, are they already in a pre-approved program, or we just ask them for a proposal?
The only thing is that right now, the caveat with them right now is that they're only allowed, like, of this particular project, they're only allowed to do the concept design. So they're not able to move on to do the actual design for construction and then bid it out. So then we're trying to see if maybe we can bring it as a design team to design the park and not just a concept.
So they would do, or they would take us. to
Yeah,
construction, though, right? That's gonna be extended to them on the construction.
No, they're not allowed, because the way that their contract was made was for them to provide concept design. The concept design is gonna be bid out to a design company, and they cannot bid for the project.
Why? What the hell? Like, why would you start design with one architectural firm and then change it to somebody else to do construction documents?
I don't know, was not here with that.
Yeah,
Say when they came
Sometimes you can do a design build or a design.
Yeah,
And
this is-
I
this
like
is
design
the-
build because you have the same contractor from the beginning to the end.
Right?
I don't know why this.
I
was
think it was,
design.
they just picked design firm because it already was,
Can they-
but the caveat from it is it
Well, you
cannot.
know what, but the other thing is, contracts can always be modified. That's the other thing.
Well, the
Or
contract.
you can always
admin
issue a new
yeah.
contract for additional services. I mean, it's just paperwork. You know, it's
Not in their case, because the way that they were selected is because it's a pre-approved list, and it already has a resolution that they can only do up to, I think it was $200,000, and then that's it.
So what
But they're
prevents
not,
them- What prevents them from bidding the next phase?
I
I'm
don't-
sorry, what?
What prevents them from?
But I have to talk to contract admin, it's part of the agreement of them being on that list of pre-design to only provide the concept. With the recognition that they're not able to then bid for the design. I don't.
It's
I
city
don't personally
policy.
agree with that. I should have a design team and a construction team, that's it, but the city has different packages that I wasn't aware of. I'm learning it as I go, and this one was one of them. I'm not going through that topic.
Yeah, no, this is-
It was, yeah,
I prefer not to do that on our lot. We should just
No,
try to
no,
get with the
no.
same fee.
yes, agreed.
Best.
All right, so that's really a portion of revenue. You guys told me to keep it on there, just, you
When
know.
do we do that again? Can we increase that to a little bit more frequently? I know I've had a couple of businesses that have reached out to me and said that because they increase in the homeless population stuff, their entrances are routinely smelling like urine and things like that. So,
Yeah, we have to get an estimate for increase.
This
Yeah,
is what,
can we do that
the
more
pressure washer?
frequently?
Yeah.
He sent one, we'll have to get with you, because he sent one to do it, like every 3 months instead of twice a
We
year.
also have a bunch of
And then-
like side spray paint on
Yeah.
the sidewalks and
Yeah,
stuff.
but also keep in mind that should come to any property when that happens.
I know, I mean, there's.
Within
there's
24 hours.
Spray paint all over the sidewalks all over the place still, you know. it's-
From the contractors.
All of our new sidewalks downtown Side Drive, all covered in spray paint. Usually, and Cumberland, a brand new ones that just went in on Cumberland has spray paint on. Why we have spray paint for utility markings on the intersection of Cumberland and 12 is beyond me, because there's no new development happening there. We got a port garage on one side and showers on the other, so it's definitely no new development happening at the port. Cumberland and 12th, but they're spray paint all over our brand new sidewalks. I mean, it looks awful. But somehow these utility companies are so getting away with this. I sent you some pictures of it. I don't know why that would be there. I have no idea. They literally just redid all of that whole street and sidewalk. It's all brand new.
We have the same issue across from outside our office.
Look at it.
I went to Starbucks across the street and I took a picture because I was gonna show you.
I'm like, what?
It's all full, and I'm thinking, why do they? I mean,
You just finished the project. Why do you need to come back and spray paint your utilities that you just put in? Like, what?
I don't know what that's for.
But I mean, that's, if it takes us increasing pressure washing contract on our end to keep that stuff cleaned up and not looking like it does. And the other thing, we have like this, the bike gangs and stuff, they leave black marks all up and down the new sidewalks and all that. I mean, it's just, we put in all this new stuff and it just, we gotta maintain it. Part of it's all the infrastructure is maintaining it. You know, and if that means we pressure wash once a month, but if we do,
Mhm.
then I just don't think we should be making this investment on our infrastructure. We're not gonna maintain it. But what we're gonna-
Oh, you guys, okay.
Well, I mean, yeah.
Yeah,
Mine-
He sends it too much.
Yeah, it's how it works.
Yeah,
But,
so,
yeah.
so let's see what we can do to increase pressure washing, and I honestly don't care if they go back to the same areas over and over again. It's just, that's just
Yeah.
part, that's just part of, you know. How the world works. Do stuff over and over and over and over again.
That's what I tell my husband, I'm
Clean
cleaning
the
the
house,
house.
right? It's the same thing, it's no different than taking a shower, you gotta just do it, you still gotta do it every day, right? It's not just like, you have to keep doing these things. So,
Okay, so we can reach out to Albert.
yeah, that's great.
Um,
Perfect, anything
and
else?
I just so you're aware that they are going to be offering a CAC member training, because there have been a lot of changes in the CRA structure, the organization of the CRA. And so we'll be doing a member training. It used to be just for the new members, but I feel like everything has changed so much. I think it's good for every member. So March 25 or April 1, I should put forward. Pick one, it's the same material, but if you're interested to kind of just get a good grasp on sunshine law, just what it means to be a CAC member, Robert's rules of order, you know, anything, and just a little bit more information about what the CRA agency, the Community Redevelopment Agency, has its priorities, like affordable housing I mentioned earlier. So it'll just be an overview of all that information. So if you can make one of those, it would be helpful in your role as a CAC member. Next meeting is March 6th, and yeah, February 8th is tomorrow. I gotta go home and get ready for tomorrow.
Anybody have anything else? Oh. Yes, yes.
Yes, and this
Yeah.
is Abby's last
This last meeting.
meeting.
Thank you, Abby.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you,
For all of your time and effort and.
You're great.
We realized I expired in October. So we've been hanging out. for a
Are you going
little
back
bit.
to NASA?
I'm just gonna look free.
Good for you.
I'll be back.
I know you will.
Yeah, right.
Thank you for everything.
But we still have our husband on Tampa High.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
It's been fun.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.
The little people. They get robust.
Yeah, well, thank you for all your time, man.
Yeah.
Welcome
Appreciate
back whenever you're ready and have the time. But we appreciate use of your husband on the Tampa High CAC.
So anybody else, anyone who's interested in coming on board, because.
Yeah,
Then it's
I'm gonna
also
decide
anything.
next month will be about this.
Sorry to hear this. So we'll have 2 open seats, so if anybody knows anybody that would be interested, please let them know.
Wow.
But we'll see you next time.
Yeah, I think next month. It's been 2 years since I played. So.
All right.
Just
We miss.
really quick.
Sure.
The Downtown Tampa Neighborhood Enhancement Grant was due in January, got extended to February 19th. So if you know anyone that's trying to plan an event in our neighborhood, that's $5,000 that can go to programming. So if you know anyone that's like, it's a great idea, it'd be free to the community, you have a great idea, so that application for that grant has been extended. Then there's 2 neighborhood programs that are going on at Washington Street Park. So I know we were talking about programming. So we have our monthly coffee break with free coffee. So that's going to be on the 27th of February. And then we have our quarterly Channel District Date Night, which is free to attend. And that's going to be on Valentine's Day. So that's so trying our best to activate the park, build a new beautiful park house, but those two events are happening in fifth grade.
Thank you so much. Can we get a motion to adjourn?
I'm with you.
Second. All in favor?
I-
We are. Thank you.
It's been a while, it's been-
Now we gotta break everything.